Hey, I'm Sean. This is Joy.
I'm Joy.
What's up,
What's
followers?
up? Yeah.
What's up, Mayhem crew? Oh, that's cool.
The Mayhem crew?
Yeah. Welcome back, Mayhem.
I got something in my eye.
You just killed this vibe.
Sorry.
You killed it hardcore.
What's up, Mayhem crew?
Hey.
What's shaking, baby?
Hey, moms.
Hey, Mom and Dad.
So this episode...
We thought we'd...
It's not my idea. I'm just kidding. You can cut that out. I'm not a jerk.
This episode, we thought we'd take you back to the past.
The way back.
Tell you how we met. In case any of you care.
Yep.
And if you don't care, you don't have to listen to this episode.
Skip it.
But if you do care, this is how we met.
Yeah.
How Sean and Joy met. They met long ago.
11 years ago and 70 pounds. Not 70.
12 years ago.
12 years ago, huh?
12 years ago
Pretty
this
good.
month.
12 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, 12 years ago. This is 2019.
Yep.
Back in 2007, once upon a time ago, we joined the Navy.
Yep. And we ended up going to boot camp together, but we didn't know it.
Classes.
Well,
I went in. Oh, it's almost October. I signed up for the Navy on October 31st, 2007. I went into boot camp.
Not 2007,
2006. I went into boot camp February 8th. My mom knows this.
Mine was February 22nd.
So, yeah. So we went to, I think we were a few weeks off. Mm-hmm. But we started boot camp in February 2007. It was piece of cake.
Well,
Blah, 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 blah,
everybody
boot camp,
likes
boot camp,
you.
boot camp.
And so you had everybody wrapped around your finger and had them like...
Oh, yeah. In boot camp. Yeah.
You had... No, I mean like you had like your whole team like ironing all your clothes for you.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. True.
And you, I feel like, were emotionally prepared for something like boot camp.
Oh, I remember people crying in our first night.
I cried for every night for the first 2 weeks.
I remember these dudes crying. I'm like, you got a warm bed. You're sleeping, be thankful. Like, this is before boot camp started, like the night before it starts, like when you're still, still getting in there and people were crying. I'm like,
I just remember.
Oh, and then a lot of people talking in their sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I just remember laying in bed and thinking, what have I done?
Like, I think I was doing that. I'm like, oh, man.
I chose.
Yeah, I think I did that too. I think everybody does that.
Because I just remember thinking like 4 years. 4 years of this, and I have to do it. I can't get out of it. Like, it's not a job. I can just be like, all right, I'm done.
Like every 4 years, it goes quick. But, blah, 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 boot camp. We did...
Well, why did you go into the Navy first?
Let's see. Before that, I was in home theater installer, and I was 22, making stupid money, stupid
like
cheap.
A lot?
No, sometimes it was a lot, but sometimes it was stupid, and it was pretty worthless. And then my good friend Brian, he became a corpsman. He's like, you can do anything you want in the Navy. And I was trying to be a cop at the time. I said, so I can be like a cop in the Navy. He's like, yeah, you can be a cop in the Navy.
Sorry.
And then I talked to the recruiter. He's like, yeah. What's the test you take when you
ASVAB?
So what he said, when you take your ASVAB, just ignore everything else. You don't have to get those right. Just like pay attention to the questions that
pertain to like justice.
Exactly. And that's what he did. And like, you can be in law enforcement. You can be a master at arms is what they call them. I'm like, sounds cool. Let's do it. And I signed up because my life was going nowhere. You know, I was still living at home. I think I was 22. Were you 22? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 22, 21, no, I was
21. Because I turned 22.
Yeah, but when you're 21, 22, you're like, I'm living at home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't want to do community college.
You've gone to school a little bit, right?
Right. But I didn't finish it.
Yeah. But I just mean like you did some school and you were like, what am I doing?
It was kind of lame. So they're like, oh, you can join the Navy and be anything you want. And I'll be like, okay, I'm going to join the Navy and be a cop. And then I'll get out in 4 years and I'll be a cop outside. And how things have changed. But But anyway, so I did that and I joined and I became a master at arms and
sorry.
And that's that. February we left. February 8th, I think it was. And then we went to boot camp and it was great. People were like, does anybody remember when they lined you up outside the bus in the building because it was cold in Great Lakes? And they're like, who plays an instrument? I never played an instrument, but I'm like, I wanted to raise my hand because I didn't want to be in boot camp because I didn't think it was going to be as easy as it was. And anyway, it turned out really freaking easy. And I don't know, it's boot camp. It's easy. Navy boot camp. I feel like
my dad has a story about when they line you up and ask if you play an instrument.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Didn't he say yes and he played the trumpet or something?
Yeah, I think he did.
And then he played the trumpet for it and it was really easy.
Yeah.
He said boot camp was easy. I remember before. So
boot camp was easy even if you didn't play an instrument.
Yeah.
The best thing the thing that came out of it, honestly, I never had a snickerdoodle cookie before. And I never had biscuits and gravy. Yeah. Do you remember when you were eating and you're not supposed to talk to anybody? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I need salt. I need pepper.
You have to be like...
Yeah, that's stupid. But I think those are the best things that came out of boot camp. I met my buddy, good buddy, Pershawn, and after boot camp, I never talked to him again. He was my bunkmate.
And then you went to A school.
Oh, A school in San Antonio. That was awesome. Pershawn was there too. That's it.
And then
San Antonio. I hate Texas. Sorry if you're from Texas. I don't like Texas because I've driven through it too many times, and there's nothing in it that I enjoy.
Well,
but San Antonio was awesome. So San Antonio, we were there for 2 or 3 months, and we did A school. I did A school there, and that's at the Lackland Air Force Base.
I think maybe you might change your mind about Texas when we go there and we actually visit like some of the towns and the things that they have.
Okay.
Because the thing you don't like is how big it is, and every time you drove from Arizona to
I don't like the people from
Florida,
Texas.
That's not true. That's not true. You just don't like some people from Texas that you have met.
A lot of military people from Texas.
Yes, that doesn't mean that all of them are like that. You can't make judgments like that.
I'm sorry if you're from Texas. Is Amy from Texas?
I don't know. A lot of people are from Texas.
She keeps going to Texas. She's cool. Hey, Amy, if you're...
So my story was I went to a year of college. I was up in North Dakota. Mm-hmm. And then I went to a semester in Chicago. And then I didn't have enough money to finish out the year. So I came home to North Dakota again. And then I tried to go back to school the next fall. And I wasn't interested. The school that was in town that we could afford that was really cheap, they didn't have any majors that I was interested in, specifically graphic design. And so I just kept like jumping around. I didn't care about my classes. I didn't want to do it. And I was a big partier, and I just would rather hang out with people than go to school. And I got to a point where I just felt I was living with my mom and dad too. And I was just like, I'm wasting their money. I had gotten a loan out for that semester and I dropped out of school and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I wasting money going to school when I don't want to go to school for any of these subjects?
Yeah.
And my mom sat me down one night and she was just like, so what are you going to do with your life? And I said, well, I guess I'm going to join the Navy. And I called up the Navy recruiter that day and I said, can I come in? And I made an appointment for 5 p.m. I think. I just remember it being like around dinner time and being like, I'm going to the Navy recruiter. And I went there. I just said, I think I'm going to join. And he's like, when? And I said, as soon as possible. And so then like within like a week or two, he took me down because we didn't have like, so like in order to join, there's like a recruiter, but then you have to go to, was it MEPS?
Yeah.
Where it's like a building where they actually test you, do like all the physical doctor stuff. And that's where like you actually sign in and everything and like actually say like, okay, I'm ready to, I want to be signed in.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So we had to go to a town 2 hours south of us to do that. Dang. So he drove me down there a couple weeks later, whatever. We did all that. And I wasn't told to just take the ASVAB according to what I wanted.
It doesn't matter.
And I am such like a do-gooder type person when it comes to test taking that I was like, I just remember feeling very under pressure and I was like shaking my leg and chewing my gum really loud. And I was so focused on like getting every question right. And then the guy next to me like yelled at me.
Yeah.
Because I was chewing my gum so loud and shaking my leg. He was, can you stop chopping your gum? And I was like, and then I was so scared.
Was he taking the test?
Everybody was. There was like 5 people right next to each other taking a test.
I barely remember
on the computer. And I was so just like,
how stupid that test is.
I gotta do it right. If I don't do it right, then I'm not going to get the right job. Anyway. And then so then I got a really good score and...
Good job. High five.
Got like...
Congratulations on your ASVAB.
He basically said I could do...
You can be a nuke.
He's like, you can do any job. I could have been a nuke. But obviously I couldn't have been a nuke.
Why?
Was that... Wait, which one's a nuke? I thought the nukes were the ones that go on subs.
Yeah.
I couldn't go on the sub.
Why not?
Because I was a girl. Are you just saying this so that I can explain it for the people who are listening that don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. So, well, I will anyway. Okay. So I was a sonar technician.
What's that?
So mostly let me back up. So when I got the score back, they were like, you did good. You can basically do anything. These are the top 4 jobs that require like smarts or whatever, being smart.
Yeah.
We would recommend these jobs because you actually have to score a certain amount to get these. And so these aren't always overmanned. And I was like, oh, okay. By the way, all of them are very much overmanned.
Yeah.
It was ETITOS and STG. Yep. And all those are always overmanned. But anyway, STG specifically was very overmanned. And that's why I never got... was able to, well, that's one of the reasons why I was never able to go up. But anyway, so he was like, I remember saying like, how about photographer? And he was like, actually, I've only seen Navy photographer come across my desk once. That's crazy. It was 20 years ago. And I've been doing this for like 30 years. And I was like, oh, so you don't think if I waited a little longer, I could get that job? And he's like, no, you're not going to get that job.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
That was one. I forgot that was he held out all the cards. There was like all these cards that had all the different descriptions of what job you could get.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that.
Yeah. So
I knew what I wanted. That's why.
Yeah, that's all you. Yeah. So he kind of like had all these cards.
Yeah.
And basically he held out like the top 4 that he wanted that I should do. And then it's like a card, so it has like the description, which I really didn't care about. And then it said like where you would go for school. And it had like what city you'd go to. And that's what I focused on. And I remember thinking like, I don't really care what I do, but one of them you stay in Great Lakes. 2 of them you went to Pensacola, Florida. and one of them you go to San Diego. And at the time, I'd always wanted to go to San Diego. So I said, let's do sonar tech. That's in San Diego. So went to boot camp, blah, blah, blah.
Easy stuff.
It wasn't easy for me because I ask a lot of questions and they don't want you to ask questions. They want you to just do what they say. And I always was like, well, what if this? Or like, maybe we should do it this way. Is it good to do it this way? And they always got mad at me for asking questions.
Remember stamping your clothes?
I always did that, right? And I never asked questions about that.
People messed it up.
So every piece of clothing, article of anything you got, you either had to write your name on if it had a tag, or they gave you a little stamp kit and you'd have to make it like your name and like your social and all this stuff.
People are so dumb when it comes to that.
Well,
I remember the what are they called? The
RDCs.
RDCs. They came around to confirm.
They'd like walk around the circle and make sure
that you
they'd be like, you have to
your name right.
Oh yeah. And then I remember we got to a point where people were making so many mistakes in stamping. So they'd be like, okay, on every white T-shirt, lay out your white T-shirts.
Oh, it was terrible.
You have to put a piece of cardboard in between the T-shirt so it doesn't bleed onto the back of your shirt. And then you have to, they would be like, on the lower right corner of your shirt, stamp. And people were messing it up so badly that at one point the RDCs made us all stop, and we all had to. So before we were able to stamp, we had to sit there and hover with the stamp of where we were going to put it, and they had to walk around and be like, "Okay, you can stamp, you can stamp, you can stamp, you can stamp."
I remember
because people messed up so much.
That's what boot camp is like. You are so dumb.
Well, and I remember the one guy that was the dumbest kid in our. And this isn't even like, I just felt bad for him because he was clearly like a Forrest Gump type, like where he was just like a little bit below the normal IQ level. It wasn't even his fault. Yeah. Like everything he did was I remember they said he had to get special permission to get into the Navy because he didn't pass his ASVAB test. Like he didn't even score high enough to get in. And they actually just like approved him to get in, and he was going to be a cook. Okay. And I felt bad for him because he was a nice guy. He just like was so just always making mistakes and just dumb. But I told you this before, on your dress whites where you have the flap going down the back, and you're supposed to lift up the flap and then stamp below your flap.
All right.
So that
I remember you telling me this.
He stamped on the flap, so when you're wearing your dress whites, your name is on the back. And the uniforms were not cheap. You had to pay for them all. Everything that you wore in boot camp or got in boot camp, they took out of your first few paychecks. Like it wasn't just free because you joined the Navy. You had to pay for him, and he had to buy all new ones because he screwed them all up.
That's pretty funny.
It was funny and sad. And I remember there were times when they would yell at him so much that you could he never broke down, but you could see like he was tearing up, and it made me feel bad for him because I was like, it's not his fault. He's just dumb. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just not all there. Like, don't be so mean to him. And like people would always make fun of him. And anyway, so boot camp, and then A school was in San Diego. We don't know each other. We don't know each other at this point. I graduated, I remember April. I think I graduated on 4/20.
Did you graduate?
Or right around there.
Did you graduate in your blues?
I think we switched to whites right before we left.
And I think I was the last.
Or no. It might have been the next week switched.
Yeah, I remember.
We were in our blues because I have pictures of me in my blues at Gurney Mills.
And they wouldn't tell you. They would tell you like, "Oh, come on, let me graduate in my blues. Come on, let me graduate in my blues." Because
you never wear those. Mean?
No.
Are you blues?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
they wouldn't tell us, and I thought we were the last graduating class to graduate. But I think you were after me.
Yep, I was just a few weeks later, maybe 1 or 2 weeks after you. But yeah, so we graduated, and then I went down to San Diego like the next day or something, and then. did A school there, and my A school was like 10 weeks. It took me a while to get into A school because it was backed up.
I had to do the same thing. I had to stay at Great Lakes for like 3 weeks.
Oh, see, we went down to San Diego.
One dude.
We got sent down to San Diego, and then we were put on hold while in San Diego, and we would just do like base cleanup every week. We just do like all day. We just do base cleanup, and we'd find places to hide.
That's what we had to do. But I think San Antonio had a limited time because we were on the Air Force Base, or had limited space for us. So we had to stay on base by the Corpsman at Great Lakes, Illinois, and so we cleaned up around the base.
I remember those people when we were in boot camp.
And I had to. One time I was cleaning the stalls, and somebody laid the biggest poop I've ever seen in the toilet. It couldn't flush. Like, you just took a swig of that beer. It was like the size of a can. Like,
that's disgusting.
It was. I will remember that till the day I die. That was disgusting. Yeah. It was like a solid, like, this dude didn't poop the whole time during boot camp.
And then he
just unleashed it. One solid.
Painful.
I don't know how that dude, whoever it was not needing medical attention after that, because it was huge.
Yeah. Well, we did that, except for I never had to clean up.
And then you're walking around. Base. You're thinking you're tough shit because you're like, I did boot camp.
See, I did boot camp. Well, and we did that in San Diego, except for because we were still new. Yeah. We were under we didn't feel like cool. Yeah. We just felt like, oh, we're the
easiest job ever is that. You're like,
yeah. I just remember walking around a lot and like finding places to hide because they didn't care where you were as long as you weren't causing trouble. Right. And you just didn't want to, if you went back to the office to be like, we're done, then they'd find something else for you to do. And then finished A school, and I didn't do well on my final exam. I got second to worst. So they did second to worst. Second to worst?
I gotcha.
On the test. And so because of that, I got second to last pick on what orders, because they had an order for each person in the room. So once you passed your test, you got an order. So they came in with like how many order? I think there was like 10 people in my class or something like that. And I remember everybody wanted Japan.
That'd be cool.
So that went fast.
I still want Japan.
And then
I'm not even in.
I think there was like 3 or 4 Japan. And so I was like, oh, I'll for sure get Japan because there's so many. There was like 1 or 2 California. And then I remember there was 2 Virginia. And nobody picked Virginia.
You're like, who wants to go to Virginia?
There might have been one up in Maine. But anyway, I don't remember. But then, anyway, so we did. I picked. Oh, and so then there was only 2 Virginia left when it was my turn. And then there was one that was a ship, and then one that was the Type 2C duty.
Oh, were we Type 2?
We were Type 2C duty, so that meant we were deployable, but we're in a building, not a ship.
Right, yeah. We can deploy in 72 hours or whatever, 48 hours.
Yeah. But I picked that again for a stupid reason because they said that they said that we didn't have to wear utilities.
Oh yeah,
because I hated the utilities.
You get fatigues.
You get to wear the forest fatigues, and I was like, yes, camouflage. Get me out of the utilities. They were so ugly.
Well, so when we joined,
it was right before they switched to the Digis.
Yep. Mobile security. I was in Squadron 6 when I got there. And I went to Squadron 2. And I went to Squadron 4. I'm like the only one.
It's different. You went from 6 to 4 too. Yeah, because you got switched to 2 after we got
I'm the only one that was there for 4 years. And I'm the only one that went to all 3 squadrons. And it was great. I mean, this is about how we met, but not about the military. But that was awesome. Like, we were on boats. I didn't do anything law enforcement related. In my job at that command was anti-terrorism force protection, which is basically wherever they need you, they'll send you in the world for any extra protection. So we were the guys with the big guns and
The presents.
Yeah. It was fun.
And so you came up in July.
Yes.
It was right before your birthday, right?
I think so.
And then you bought your truck. Or maybe you came up in June.
June. That's when I was there. Yeah.
Because you were there for...
June 18th or something like that. 14th or something.
And then...
So I got there. Because you came in August.
I came on my birthday.
Yep. So I was there a couple months before, feeling out, dating a lot of people, seeing a lot of girls.
You're funny.
And then you came.
And I remember coming out on my birthday, and then the night we met was like the second night I was there or something, because I remember I was there.
You were wearing these tight black jeans. And I think you had your jacket on.
I don't remember.
I remember you coming down the stairs of our barracks, and I was in the smoke deck hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Because that's where, most of the people smoked.
The smoke deck is just, where people hang. I didn't smoke. You didn't smoke either.
Most of the people smoked.
It was a barbecue pit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or like a pergola.
There's a lot of people
that
did smoke, and so everybody hung out there.
Yeah.
So that the smokers could smoke, and then, so we went down there and hung out, and then I think a few days later, you came up and asked me if I wanted to
smash.
No, if I wanted to come to a barbecue.
Yeah. Say it again.
So we were all hanging out at the smoke deck, and I don't remember you from that night.
Right.
But then, because I think I'd gotten invited out to downtown.
Yeah, you went out.
Fort Smith.
Yeah, I remember when you went out, and I remember when you came back the same night.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that. I don't remember.
Yeah. It's
like blurry. And then a couple days later, I remember you came by and asked if I wanted to come. It was Sunday, and you asked if I could come to the barbecue. They were going to do barbecuing on the grill or something.
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
I remember what you were wearing when you showed up at my door. You were wearing a light blue shirt with graphic print on it, and your board shorts.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember thinking, this guy is good looking. I like him.
I remember you said, when you were reminiscing about it, you're like, this guy and his receding hairline.
I loved it. I was always attracted to guys with receding hairlines because they looked mature. You had the salt and pepper hair.
There you go.
I thought you were at least 4 or 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
It turns out you're only a month older than me.
Yep.
And then so you invited me down to the barbecue pit, and then I remember going down there and looking for you and being like, I hope he's wearing the same thing he was wearing earlier today so I can tell who he is. I don't remember, but I remember knowing it was you right away. And then I remember sitting there.
Hairline.
Yeah, probably. But then I remember sitting there for 2 hours listening to a bunch of idiots talk about the dumbest things.
Yeah, we never said
ever.
That the smoke pit was a crew of intelligent people.
Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you. I just remember.
It was just where people hung out.
Yeah. And there was no barbecue. People didn't cook food. And so I was going down there thinking we were going to have food or something. And then it was listening to people talk about such dumb things. And I think I remember people hitting on me or something, and me being this is so dumb. And I was trying to figure out a way to get to hang out with just you because I didn't know you. So I didn't want to be hey, you that just came up to my room 5 minutes ago, do you want to go hang out? And so I just remember saying over and over the course of half an hour being I think I'm going to go up to my room and watch a movie. I think I'm going to go up to my room and watch a movie.
I think I'm going to go up to my room and watch 24 or CSI.
I think I just said, no, I was I think I just said I'm going to go watch a movie. I think I'm going to go watch a movie. And then going up to my room and being I'm going to turn on Corky Romano and I'm going to go to sleep. And I'm just going to hope that he comes up. And then you came up. And I remember thinking, like, at that point, I was about to go to sleep because I was like, he's not going to come up. And you finally came up. And then the best part was when you were like...
I know.
It was so cute. You were like, I just came to get your number. And I was like, okay. And then you're like, I don't have my phone.
Yeah, I don't have my phone.
It was so cute. So then you went back and got your phone. You came back. And then I was like, do you want to come in and watch a movie with me? And you stayed and watched Corky Romano with me. That was how we met.
Yep.
It was really cute.
Yep.
And then we were sort of friends and dated a little bit.
So I was in Squadron 6 at the time. I think you were in 4.
And I was in 4. And we dated-ish.
Which is fine.
For about 2 months.
2 different buildings.
Yep.
I was on boats for a while. And you were... I don't know, what did you do? You just did STG stuff, sonar tech stuff.
I was a sonar technician, which they're the ones that sit on the ships and they look at screens that tell you whether there's a helicopter up above that's coming, whether there's a boat coming, whether there's a submarine underwater, and depending on what you see on these screens, you can tell what it is.
Yeah.
But I never did any of that except for in A school. What I did was I was sent to this command because they were testing this diver equipment.
Oh yeah, the dive stuff that they just used here in Crystal Lake.
Yeah. So there's this
torpedo thing.
Big silver ball. Yeah. That's like a big metal ball that they put in the water. Was
it new at the time?
I guess they said, so the reason the Navy never bought it was because the Coast Guard already had something.
Yeah.
If it's not that, then it was something really similar. And so we tested it and they were kind of on like the end of the testing.
Yeah.
Like, I think right after I got there, we received the ball and there was like somebody in the area, like the contractors that would like come out and like show us how to use it and all this stuff. Yeah. And then we tested it, made sure it worked. And then I think about 6 or 7 months later, we gave like a huge presentation to like, what's the big guy in the Navy? No, like in the whole Navy. Like the CO came out, but then it was like the Master Chief of the Navy or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It was like all these like big high up people in the Navy.
Yeah.
Like I remember just hiding because I was like, I don't know how to talk to these people. I don't know if I'm just supposed to like even not look at them because I was
supposed to high five them.
I know, right? Go up and be like, "Hey, Chief." So we did this whole presentation for them, and then I remember the guy was so disinterested. He was like on his phone the whole time. He didn't even care. And then at the end, he was like, "So the Coast Guard already has this. I'm not spending $2 million on this equipment. No." And we were like, okay, so now what do we do? Because that's the whole reason we had 6 STGs at the command was for that specific thing.
Hilarious.
There's no reason for us to be there otherwise because there was no sonar equipment in the entire command.
Everything that we talk about is like, okay, in boot camp, or no, in A school, they asked us, we were the first class in A school that had the ability to join K9. I said, who wants to join K9? There's like 4 or 5 openings for K9. It's the first time people in A school that young or, fresh in the military were able to have K9. And my thought was like, I don't want to go overseas. I don't want to be deployed. And I don't want a bomb sniffing dog, because I don't want to go over there. And I ended up going with a couple of people that from my A school. And we went to Virginia, and we got there, I think, in June, and they said, oh, you're deploying in October to Iraq. And I'm like, son of a bitch. This is the last thing I wanted. But anyway, our job there was for boats for a while. And master arms on a boat, a 25, 30-foot skiff doesn't make sense. Just like STGs at mobile security doesn't make sense. So everything that happened and how we met and all of our life situation and circumstances up to that point were really connected, I think.
Put together,
perfectly.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to be there. I could have been on K9. You weren't supposed to be there. You could have been in California. There's no SCGs.
Or on a ship in Norfolk.
On a ship, yeah. There's no reason for us to be at these at this command. And we're at this command. And 2 rates that don't do anything over there.
Well, and then the crazy thing was
at the same time.
You were in Squadron 2, 4, 6. You were in 6. Yeah. And then all the commands at the time when we first got there were like kind of just like a cluster mess. Like it was just like, you know, they were joining and then cutting up again and redividing. So like you were in 6, but then you got moved to 4. And because you went from 6 to 4, you didn't get deployed in October.
6 to 2.
No, you went from 6 to 4 because I was in 4.
Oh, okay.
And then because of that, you didn't get deployed in October. You were pushed off until February at first, and then you didn't go till March.
So we went in March, early March, but it was March. It was a 9-month.
Yeah. So when we first met, we kind of dated for about 2 months, and then you kept saying you didn't want to be in a relationship with anybody because you were about to go on deployment.
Yeah.
And then it kept getting pushed off or whatever. And so at that point, I was like, well, I just like you too much.
And then we had to break it off.
I couldn't be with you because I liked you so much.
We broke up.
And then we never saw each other again. The end.
And then I'm at the bar, you know, last year, and then you come along. I'm like, you look familiar.
I have 3 kids with you somehow.
So, flash back to 2008, early 2008 then, right?
Well, no, because then I think the beginning of November, because it was after Halloween.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You texted me one day and said you wanted to hang out again because you missed hanging out with me and stuff.
Maybe after a Field X or something.
Something like that. And I remember being really indignant and like, I was falling in love with this guy.
I think
he didn't want to hang out
we skipped over, but we did break up.
That's what I said.
Yeah, we legit broke up.
Yeah. Well, we weren't really together, but I just remember being like, I can't spend time with you as a friend because I am falling in love with you. And you were like, I'm deploying. And you were really good about being honest. So I don't know if you meant it or not, but you were like, I just don't see myself with you. And I was like, well, that is hard to take. Like that was like a gut punch. And I just remember being like, all right, well then I can never see you again because I like you too much. It hurts too much to like be with you and not be with you. And then about 2 weeks later, you texted me.
It was only 2 weeks, yeah.
And then I remember after that, it was like every day we were together and it was like, oh yeah, this is right.
Yeah.
And we hung out all the time. And then I think about 2 weeks.
We watched 24.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did. I hated 24.
We fell asleep while watching it because I couldn't watch it. It was so boring. I liked season 1. Season 2 was the exact same as season 1.
And that was like my time to sleep because I hated that show. I still hate it. What else did we watch?
I remember we would hang out and listen to oldies.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember bonding over oldies and having the discussion.
You turned me on to Apple products at that time. Yeah. I had a 17-inch Dell computer.
Yep.
That was good for like 2 months.
I know. I remember you were like, I built this. And I was like, oh, that's really cool.
No, my mom bought it. My mom bought it.
Oh, no. You were saying that you had a computer at home you built, right?
Right.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then after that, we hung out like every single day. And then I remember you called up and actually asked me out like as your girlfriend. And I was super, or maybe you were going to because you were on a Field X and then you didn't. And then when you got back, you asked me. I remember you specifically asking me.
I think it was after, it was after Field X. I remember
you saying like you had something to ask me.
And I remember it was cold on that Field X. And I remember that because our tent didn't have a heater. Stupid.
And it was November.
I remember that damn Field X was.
Yeah. There's a lot of things.
But I remember that because I remember I had bad signal. I was going to text you.
Mm-hmm. I remember you calling me one time and that's when it was because you were like, I have something to ask you, but I'm not going to ask you right now. And I was like, what? And then it was like 2 days later.
I pulled a dad on you.
You came home.
I have to tell you something, but
you came back
I can't tell you right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
And I remember being like, oh my gosh. And then you got back and I was so excited to see you. And you were like, I was like, so what do you want to ask me? And you're like, oh.
Okay. Did I say that?
Yeah. And then, anyway, so then you asked me out. And then soon after that, we said we loved each other. And then soon after that, I
remember the first time I told you I love you.
I think I remember too.
No, you don't. We already had the discussion, but it's okay.
Oh,
I was in the truck.
Said
I was driving to the highway, and we were getting off the phone.
And you said it after you hung up, so then I didn't hear you.
I don't think so. I said it. Yeah, I said it on the phone. It doesn't matter.
And then I remember a night in January, I told you I want to be engaged to you before you leave on deployment. And then the next morning, I was like, remember what you were talking about last night? And you were like, I remember what we were talking about last night. Do you remember what we were talking about last night? And then you called up my dad the next month and asked for permission to marry me. And
I remember that.
Got a ring. And
yep. I remember calling my dad and being like, I think I want to marry her.
Oh.
I remember walking to my truck because we had to park way out by the Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
Crane. Mm-hmm. And I remember being on the phone with him. I said, it's been like 2-3 months, and I think I love her, and I think I want to marry her. And he was really supportive on that. He's like, you should do it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool because if our kids did that, I'm like, you've only been in for 2 months. You're brand new to this. You have no idea what you're talking about. You just met them.
Well, and I remember
it's not going to fly right
that Christmas
with our girls.
Before we got engaged, I went out to go get my car that I was buying from my mom and dad. And I remember
going to the airport. Sorry.
Yeah. So I remember when I was there, I was talking about you to my mom, and my mom was like, you are so in love. Like I've seen you talk about guys before. You're so in love with him. And I was like, yeah, I am. Like, he's amazing. Like, I think he's perfect. Like, I think I want to marry him.
There's been a couple times we drove up to Richmond to get you and down back to Virginia.
Illinois or Richmond?
We drove to Illinois too.
Oh, yeah. You picked me up from the airport in Richmond.
Yep.
But yeah, and so then I just remember being like, I think this is the man I want to be with for the rest of my life. And then I remember her being like, I can tell, like, something's good about him. And then at that point, she was like, I think I said at one point that night saying like, well, maybe I can get him to come up and you can meet him and then he can help me drive back. And she was like, I would feel really comfortable with that because she wanted me to have help driving back down. And so I think she bought the ticket.
I remember meeting them at O'Hare.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the call. I remember like, where are you? And you were to the right.
I don't remember that.
I remember that.
And then
all that is exciting.
That's
how we met.
That's how we met.
Pretty boring as a podcast.
Then we went on deployment for almost a year.
Then we went on deployment.
We got back and
now
got
we were
married.
lucky because we were in different squadrons.
Well, we were in the same squadron
at the time. Yeah.
When we went on deployment, but we were both in 4. You were.
No, we weren't.
Yes, you. No. Or did they merge while we were on deployment?
Yeah, because I was in 6 when I left.
Oh, that's right. But they merged while we were on deployment.
So all my mail was sent to Kuwait where you were stationed.
Yep. And so you had to, when you would have breaks, you would come into the base that I was at.
I had to take a tugboat from the middle of the Persian Gulf back to Kuwait. It was like a 1.5-day ride, maybe 2-day ride. And it was all our trash and stuff. And that was fun. Kuwait sucked. Did you like Kuwait?
No, I don't know.
It's good memories.
I mean,
I don't remember a time I've ever been more cold. It was just like in those damn barracks.
They were so cold. They kept them so cold because, but it was because it was so humid. It was so hot and humid that they had to.
Gosh, that's true. In the Persian Gulf and in Kuwait, you're like, I can't believe how humid this is all the time.
Like, it was so humid that everything always looked like it had just rained.
Yep.
I remember if you took a shower and you got out of the bathrooms, you couldn't dry down until you got into the barracks. You had to dry inside a building somewhere. And then if you stepped out, it would feel like you just took a shower again because it would just be like this layer of like water on you.
Yep.
It was.
And on the oil terminal, there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 meters. You can never see out,
because of the
humidity. It was so humid.
It was so humid.
I remember when I'm walking around, I had like liters. I had like 7 liters during my rove, and my shirt was soaked. And they're like, "Did the washing machine break? Like, did it not go through the wearing cycle?" Or
yeah.
And I'm like, "No, that's sweat." And I left it out there to dry, and like it never dried.
I remember
2 days later, it was never dry, and those stunk. Those like. Oh, man, those T-shirts, you threw them out after deployment.
Yeah,
you threw them out during deployment.
Yeah.
You got new ones.
New ones, yeah.
And those are nasty.
Well, and I remember wearing like long sleeve tees and long pants because then it was like the humidity didn't stick to you. It'd stick to like the clothes. Yeah. And I remember people walking by me like, "You're crazy. It's so hot." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like the sun wasn't beating down on me. It was just like hot. And the humidity, like didn't make me any hotter wearing long sleeves. It just like kept the humidity off my skin."
That's interesting.
And it was like, I remember being like, "This is not bad." Like, I mean, not that it was great, but it was like, okay, this like, I feel like if I was in a t-shirt, it'd be worse.
So that's how we met. And then we went on deployment. Mm-hmm. I came back early. You found us a house in Old Town Portsmouth, which I love that place. We just talked about it in the old podcast, or the last podcast about the color we painted the walls Cubby blue, Cubs blue.
Well, and I don't know.
But anyway, I love that place. That place was built in, when was it? Like 1800s. Like
it was a long time ago.
It was like early 1800s, and it was right on the Elizabeth River. You can hear the ferry. You can cross the river anytime you wanted to go.
It was nice. Back
down to Norfolk, Portsmouth. That side of the Portsmouth changed my mind and.
Yep.
Thank you. You found that on Craigslist.
Yeah, I did.
I remember going there and I'm like, this place, I mean, it's a military town. Sketchy. You found it on Craigslist and they were cool.
Yeah, they were cool. And then we got married at the JOP in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And then we had our wedding.
Where Michael Vick was convicted.
Yeah. And all the animal shelters at the time were chock full of pit bulls because everybody was afraid of them.
Yeah.
And then we came back up here to Illinois and we had our wedding and then kind of the rest is history.
The rest is history. We'll go over our, what we do later in another podcast, but that's how we met in the military. And is there anything else we need to talk about?
I don't know. That was kind of how we met. And
there's a lot more to it, but.
I mean, we could talk. I feel like the further we get from the military, the less military stories I have. But I feel like we could talk about the military for a long time. We have lots of stories.
When I go down my tangents, I'm like, you don't want to hear this. Everybody's like, I do want to hear. I'm like, this is really boring stuff.
I remember in A school, anytime you'd talk to anybody, you just tell boot camp stories. And everybody would just be like reminiscing, like, remember this? Oh, I did this. What did your team do or your div do?
And now you talk to normal people, maybe that have never been in the military, and they want to hear about it.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how we met, and we've been married 10 years this past March.
Dang.
And
it's gone by so fast.
We met 12 years ago in September 1st or September 2nd.
We made it 9 months. So I got engaged to you. We got engaged. A month later.
On February 16th.
A month later, we deployed. And if that 9-month deployment away from each other.
10 month.
Yeah, 10 months. That was the key to success, I think, is because if we survive that, we can survive most anything that
we went through a lot on that deployment.
And it was like super.
It was really hard.
Well, it was deployment. Yeah. But, I mean, if I said, if we survive this, like, we can do this. Mm-hmm. 10 months. And it went quick.
Well, and then, after we had Bailey, you went on deployment for 4 months and I had a newborn. Yeah. And I feel like that gave me a lot of, I don't know, like strength and independence, figuring out how to take care of a kid by myself for 4 months.
For sure.
From 3 months. She was 3 to 7 months.
Yeah.
And I feel like that gave me a lot of like we can do anything because I can hold down my front.
Yeah.
I think what it gave us though was it gave us this kind of mentality of like, I don't need you and you don't need me. We're okay apart, but like we want to be together and we're choosing to be together. And it helps us put things into perspective when like things come up because we don't think like, divorce. We're just like, no, like we want to be together. We're like, this just sucks right now, but that doesn't mean... you just suck
right now.
Yeah. I'm mad at you, but that doesn't mean I don't want to be with you because I know what it's like to be by myself and you know what it's like to be by yourself and we would just rather be with each other.
Yeah. So to circle it back all the way around when we started, we were 21, 22. I thought I was 22 when I joined.
I think
And I was a piece of shit. I did installs. I wasn't going anywhere. I was listening to Stern all morning, and I wasn't on any kind of path of a good life. I was just on a path of like a boring life. But what the military did is introduce me to you, which is amazing. And we graduated after we went back to school. Obviously, we went back to school to graduate, but like it made us want to do and succeed in life. And while every day sucked in the military, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I loved it.
Well, I feel like, I've said this,
it gave us that drive in life.
When I've said this before, is like
we can do it.
I feel like the military can either takes a person and keeps them at that emotional, mental level where they just
like Houston.
Yeah, like there are people that join and then they just stay dumb.
They stay there.
They don't better themselves. They don't make themselves better while they're in. They don't take the lessons that they're learning. And then there's the people that maybe they didn't learn, like me. I didn't learn how to be an STG, but I learned how to be an adult. I learned how to take care of myself, how to, do things on my own, how to whatever.
Right.
And so we both came out of it better people, more driven, more, whatever. And obviously
it's working.
In love.
Yeah. And that's it. How long was this podcast?
I don't know.
How long was this Palmcast?
So if you enjoyed that story of the military, which is basically...
There's plenty of more military stories to tell you.
Yeah. Let us know.
So honestly, I was not wanting to do this ever because I don't like, the story's overdone. But I mean, honestly, nobody hears about it.
Yeah.
All those peeps out there.
It's like when you're... Like you always have that one story that you tell all the time and you're like, ugh, I'm sick of telling this story because I've told it so many times. But
can't wait till I'm old that I forget about it. Did I tell you about the story that I wrestled a bear?
Yeah. I know, like when my mom tells stories, sometimes there's stories she's told, multiple times. And every time it comes up, it's like, I don't want to tell her that she's told me this story so many times because a lot of times she's telling it for someone new. And then I have to pretend like,
never heard this before.
Oh yeah, I forgot you said that. But really, it's like I've heard this story. That's our story. We've told this story so many times, but so those of you who didn't know,
that's
now
it.
You know.
This took a lot of energy out of me.
Yep, it's a long one.
Ready to call it now.
Yep.
But that's how we met. Yep. That's our military story. And next time on the road to mayhem.
On the road to mayhem,
we find out who our sponsor is.
We hopefully we'll be under contract and we'll have an RV lined up.
Freak yeah.
That would be amazing.
We got to call the guy at General RV.
Yeah. Victor.
And, yeah, I know. And then be like, listen, dog, we're ready.
Dog.
Give us that 2020 RV that we want.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So.
And then we can do like a vlog on that. We can do a video tour. Oh, it's gonna be super exciting, dudes and dudettes, mom.
Roadies.
What did we call them last time? Mayhem Crew. How we met, I can cross that out.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us on this podcast. Let us know what you thought in the reviews. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars, please. And
it helps out a lot.
Thumbs up the videos, subscribe, all that stuff.
Yeah. Spread the word.
Yeah. Tell everybody about us.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Peace.